Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
Hi there, dear listeners. Sean Williams here. The Word Docs might be in lockdown, but they have new books out in the wild. I have two. Her Perilous Mansion, a novel about kids stuck in a house that might be haunted, and The View from the End of the World, a collection of short stories all about the end of the world.
And I'm Alex Vickery-Howe, and my new play is called Watchlist, about a virus that changes the world.
And I'm Amy Matthews, and my alter ego Tesla Sue has the conclusion to her 4-book Frontiers of the Heart series out now. It's called Bound for Glory, and it's a rollicking western.
Now, on with the episode. In April 2020, the Word Docs were approached by Emma Haskins of ABC in the Northern Territory with some questions about us, and these are the answers we gave her. Enjoy.
Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Okay, so do you want to introduce ourselves one at a time?
Yeah, let's start with you, Alec.
I see how that works. My name is Alex Vickery-Howe. I'm a playwright and screenwriter. I'm probably still most known for the Japanese-Australian horror rock musical that everyone keeps bringing up every time they talk to me, which is called Once Upon a Midnight. And what was the next part of the question?
That was the beginning of the question. He's also a PhD. He's got a PhD, so it's Dr.
I do have a PhD, but I'm always bashful about telling people. But yes, I am Dr. Vickery-Howe.
I'm Dr. Amy Matthews, and along with Alex, I work at Flinders University. I teach creative writing. Alex teaches drama and creative writing. I publish novels under two names, under the name Amy T. Matthews and under the name Tesla Sue, and I also write short stories and a bunch of other stuff.
And I'm Dr. Sean Williams. I also teach with these wonderful people at Flinders University in the creative writing department. I'm a recent addition to the team. I've come from writing lots of different kinds of books like Star Wars novels and YA novels and kids' books and adult space opera novels and short stories and bad poetry. That's my thing.
I write bad poetry too.
I think it's very important.
I haven't done that since I was 16, but I was the master of the bad poem.
Maybe that's what we can do in lockdown. Brush off our bad poetry.
I did a D&D epic poem once when I was 15. It was so awful.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, we should publish that. I think we should read that aloud on the show. So the questions for us today are, why are we doing a podcast? So we should probably introduce our podcast before we do that. The three of us have just recently, we released a podcast called Word Docs, and I'm going to get...
Which is all about... Oh, sorry, well, you're going to get...
I was going to get you guys to describe what it was, and then I cut you off because we're obviously not in the same room, and we're recording this via Skype, and there's a bit of a lag.
We're still getting used to the joys of working in separate environments. It's much more fun to be sitting in a tiny little studio chatting with each other about writing and the teaching of writing and the doing of writing, which I think is pretty close to the brief for Word Docs, isn't it? It's not just an excuse for us to get together and eat virtual chocolate with each other.
I'm actually trying to remember how the conversation started, and you know what? I can't. Do you remember how this even came up?
It was me.
So it was you.
I wanted to start a podcast about a bunch of writers who get drunk and tell all the secrets of writing, because my theory has always been that the only time writers ever tell the truth is when they're in the bar and half schnozzled. So we decided that getting drunk wasn't a very good idea and not a very good image for the university, but we could still tell the truth. So here we are telling people who are interested in writing the truth that they don't hear in lecture theatres or on the Writers' Festival circuit.
Well, I was going to say that it's what's true of writers telling the truth in the bar is also true of teachers telling the truth in the bar as well. And some of the feedback that I've already had from students and ex-students is, this is the interesting part. All the things you stopped short of saying in a lecture theatre or a tutorial room, you're now starting to...
I feel a bit embarrassed because I don't think I stopped short in the lecture theatre. Sean's seen some of my lectures now. I actually think I might go there.
You know, the lecture we had last week, Amy, on horror, you did comment that there were a whole bunch of things you wish you hadn't recorded, and we're all seeing them now. It's so fantastic.
A bit unfiltered.
Well, I don't Yeah, I don't think we should be filtered. I think we should be uncensored. But there's just occasionally where you kind of stop short and go, oh, maybe not the right time. I had one shoot where I went off, and I didn't go off in an aggressive way. I just went off in a very honest way because a student said, oh, how hard is it to make it in the acting industry? And I just went, are you kidding? And just went off. And then like halfway through the monologue, I went, oh, the little voice in my head going, Alex, pare it back. You've got to turn this around while you still can. And I steered the ship, and I sort of by the end of it went, well, but good luck, and we've all got to do follow our hearts and follow our passions and so on. So
that's basically our podcast in a nutshell, isn't it? That's basically what we do every week on this.
We always
steer
hit that
off
point.
The rails, steer back.
That's right. We tip over the edge and then somehow clamber back up.
So when Sean mentioned it, we jumped on board because we're all about being too honest all the time.
Yeah,
that's right. And I didn't want to do it on my own. It's much, much easier to chat with friends who know more than I do.
It's been
so
very
fantastic.
interesting learning, actually, about how everyone works and how your process works, how your fears work. And I think Sean commented on I don't know if it's come out yet, but on an episode we recorded last week about how vulnerable we all sounded. And I think there's something about doing it during the age of coronavirus where we're locked in our own homes, just contacting each other on Skype, where we are getting very vulnerable and admitting to all our flaws.
Yes. I thought particularly the episode we did on publication, I thought that was quite a raw episode. I didn't realise it at the time. At the time I was just having fun and, but then listening back, I thought, wow, all of our fears actually bubbled up to the surface in that one. So
that's
I think
episode 9. Something for people to look forward to listening to.
But I think that's really good, and I've got no issue with doing that. And so I think that's probably the other reason we're doing this too, is that I do think whether you're filtered or unfiltered as a lecturer, you very rarely wish to be vulnerable as a lecturer, because I think you lose control of the room at that point. So this is a space where you can reveal that side of yourself as well, I think, which is even at my least filtered in the lecture room, I don't think I'd ever confess to a fear or to a anxiety in the same way that I would on here. I don't think, anyway.
We've confessed to some deeply personal things in our podcast, so listeners will learn an awful lot about us, just like we're learning a lot about each other. And that's the great thing about collaborating. You always end up revealing far more than you expect to in the process.
So our next...
Tempted to bring up elbows, but I won't.
That's already out there. They can listen to that.
Right.
So the next question was, how are we making the podcast? And it has changed dramatically over the last couple of weeks, because when we started out, there was no such thing as COVID-19. So when we started out, we were in one little tiny telephone booth sized room together.
Like the first time we did it, we were in a garden shed.
We did a test one.
Yes.
We did actually drink in that one, and I think that's where Sean
true.
decided we are not allowed to drink and make podcasts. Alex described us as like Sean being like a grown-up and he and I being like gremlins. I'm not offended at all.
No, I think
from the truth.
I stand by it, because he had this great opening announcement, and then there was a pause, and you just heard maniacal laughter in the corner of the room. Which is
maybe we'll release that podcast one day, just to demonstrate that I am never a grown-up.
Alex confessed to a lot that day. About
I don't even remember that
being
day.
Power Rangers and all sorts.
All the things that have come back to haunt me since then.
Because we remember.
Because you remember. But then our first kind of adult version was at Flinders Uni in the edit suite down at Sturt campus, which I kind of miss, actually. I miss being in the room so that, A, Sean brings chocolate, but B, you riff off each other in a different way, I think.
And we had a lot of help.
Struggle with here.
Sean is technically competent in this area, but Alex and I not necessarily so. So we had the wonderful Dr. Tom Young. Is he doctor? I don't even know. He works at Flinders teaching media. Is it film? What exactly does he teach, Alex?
Everything.
Film production, really. He's he has his own production company. He does an enormous amount of...
Huge amount of
I don't know
work.
whether it's extracurricular or just extremely curricular.
But our students make feature
it's a lot of
films.
production going on.
They make films, they make podcasts. Flinders historically has been very well known for its film and media departments, and he certainly is always in there producing stuff. So he produced our first bunch of episodes. He's lent me this microphone, which is as big as my head. And I think we learned an awful lot from him. And he even guided us on our first episode after lockdown, didn't he? He was on the phone and showing us how to do everything and set the levels.
Oh, yeah. He was there at first, and then he assumed we knew what we were doing and left, and it took us about 5 hours to record one episode from memory.
But now we're
about a kilo of chocolate.
We've got it down now.
Old hands.
Don't say that, Amy. That's it.
Sean's got it down. Sure. We're just gremlins.
The microphone just catches fire in Amy's
Sean,
hand.
do you want to tell everyone what platform we're on and how we organise that?
So we're using Skype for video and audio, so we can see each other talking and get a rough sort of master track. Alex and Amy, being Mac users, are using QuickTime to record high-quality versions of their audio, and I'm using Audacity to do the same on my PC.
Always different.
So always the odd one. It has to be special. So at the end of a recording session, I'll download the video and master track, separate out the audio, and then Alex and Amy will send me their high-definition files. We'll sync up the tracks, get rid of the master file, and then I'll start editing, adding the glorious theme tune by Bob Roberts, which I edited way back when. And then we take out a few ums and ahs and compress and do all that sort of audio engineering stuff that I love doing, could spend all day doing. And then I send it to Alex and Amy to let me know if I've screwed anything up. And when we're all happy, it goes out through the amazing Ozcast network, which is they've been so good to us.
So you can find us through Ozcast on wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us everywhere. And if you subscribe, we'll just pop up every week when we release an episode.
One of the things I've got to do is go through and take all the coughs out from my recording today, because I don't have the corona, but I do have a tickly cough, which is very annoying. I don't like it. I hope you guys are healthy.
It used to be me. The first 5, I think, I coughed my way through. So
you gave it to me. That's right.
This is quite a long time ago now. What do we hope to achieve for people out there? I think I've been thinking about this question since it was sent to us, because I actually think, yes, we're thinking about an audience, but in many ways we're doing it for us. I think we're achieving it for us as much as for other people.
Well, that's that question that you ask quite often, which is who is your ideal reader? I think you mentioned that a few weeks ago. And then I think one of our answers was us, or people like us. And I think that's okay, because hypothetically or presumably we're not the only people like us in the world, and there are other people out there who will appreciate it as well. But I kind of think of myself as a student in first year, and all the things that I wish people had said to me. That would probably be the way I look at it.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've taught so many students over the years, and the issues are the same whether you've just written your very first short story or whether you're writing your 50th novel. I don't think the issues change. I think we're thinking anyone who's interested in writing, even as a reader. I actually think this stuff, I love watching DVD commentaries on movies, even though I don't make movies. Just because I love to know how things are done. So it's kind of a look behind the scenes at how writers do things, how they come up with ideas, which is one of our most common questions, and every practical thing in between, and then publishing, editing, all of that stuff I don't think changes.
This is like a DVD commentary for our life. I love that concept. It's great. Let's write that down.
So what are some of the topics that we go through on our podcast?
I mentioned publishing. Where do you get ideas from? Our environments and our routine.
Failure.
My favourite is still failure, absolutely. My favourite is still heroes and villains, though. I could talk about villains all day. What else have we covered?
Networking is one.
Networking, yes.
So we'll probably keep circling around many of these topics, because you can't contain the topic to 30 minutes. Alex could talk about villains forever, and we could all talk about any of these things over and over again, because they're continuing. We're continuing to come up with ideas, to write first drafts, to write second drafts, to edit, to promote, to publish, to fail to publish, to have to try and republish.
And the environment's changing too. So it occurred to me this morning that our network episode talks about mingling with people in person.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's not happening for the rest of the year. So please listen to our episode. I think in principle it still holds, but just be aware that we'll probably have another one coming out later this year, how to network in the age of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Also that we are checking in on each other's work periodically as well. So I imagine over the episodes we do, hopefully you'll see us wrestling with our own projects and developing our own projects, and maybe we hit walls and maybe it all falls apart, or maybe things push forward. So I think that kind of running commentary is interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Certainly when you look back on them all.
So Sean, in the time we've been recording, has written a book. You started writing a book. I was listening to one of the early episodes and you were talking about how you were asked to write something very quickly, and it's already out this year. Is it May it's coming out?
Next month. It'll be out in about 3 weeks. The thing that's happening for me today is that the Children's Book Council Award is releasing their shortlist. So
and
my
Sean
last
also
book is
just got shortlisted for another award, for the New South Wales Premiers Award, didn't you?
That's right. But during our recording session, I'm expecting to hear about the CBCA shortlist. I'm not expecting to be on the shortlist, but I'll be. There are a lot of my friends on the long list, so I'll be cheering for them.
We may be drinking.
You'll get all our little milestones.
We may be drinking alcohol if he gets shortlisted.
Because Amy's madly writing at the moment. She's on study leave.
And I had a book out. I think I had a book out in our first few episodes.
That was the first ep, I think.
And Alex is madly trying to make a play happen in the age of the coronavirus too. So no audiences,
which is pretty much impossible.
I think a radio play is the way to go. I think that would be very.
I think that's what we'll do. We're almost certainly going to do that. I'm just looking for ways to divide it into 4 eps, which I was looking at it yesterday, and that can be done. But also still wrestling with, I've decided not to rewrite it. I've decided to push on, but I'm still wrestling with, I've written a play that has spookily mirrored real life, and how do I feel about that? So
Alex wrote a play about a virus that shuts down the world, and he wrote this last July, and it's coming out next month, and then this happened.
But also I was thinking the short story I just did as part of the Thrill Me anthology,
which is coming out on Saturday. We've got
which we're all in
anthology,
which we're all in, which is tremendously exciting. But mine's about the Queen being a little bit viral and weird as well. And I'm like, have I now doomed
you are
the Queen?
Nostradamus.
Yes. It's all your fault.
Write something now that saves the Queen. So
the Teletubbies swoop down on the palace, helicopter to safety.
The next
Teletubbies scare me, Sean.
They scare everybody. The sun used to traumatize my child.
That son now has a baby of her own.
Oh, that's disturbing. So the next question is actually one that I don't know about you guys, but I've heard my entire teaching career, and there was a big kind of debate about it in Australia when creative writing sort of mainstreamed at universities in the 2000s. And the question is, can you teach writing? Or is it an innate talent that some people have and some people don't? And this is a question that we still face at the university, I think, often, not from people within our discipline, but you do find that a lot of people think about writing romantically like it isn't something that can be taught. So what do you guys think? You have to do it. So
I think it's slightly crazy that people would even ask that question, because do people have innate talents for paleontology? Do people have innate talents for law? I mean, the answer is patently obvious that the answer is no, but people may have inclinations that lead them towards law, or inclinations that lead them to paleontology. And it's exactly the same from my perspective with creative writing. Some people have inclinations toward reading and telling stories, but they still need to learn how to be a writer, because being a writer, writing is different to just writing a shopping list or writing an email. There are a whole bunch of skills you have to learn. And when I look at all the knowledge that's in your 2 heads, our 3 heads, that didn't come out of nowhere. That came out of really, really hard work and mentorship and guidance and learning by example, learning by failing, and learning at universities in some of our cases. I just, it seems so obvious to me.
I don't know where the saying... A lot of my sentences start with either weirdly or I don't know where the saying comes from, but the one about interest plus hours, which is what I genuinely believe, is that you have an interest and that interest leads you to invest hours. And from that is what I think we call talent, I think. Plus, obviously, mentors. I mean, I've had a combination of brilliant and terrible mentors.
Yeah, me too.
The same person.
Not never the same person. That'd be great if this is one moody person. But, I've had fantastic mentor figures who encourage you to be you, who kind of go, okay, I see what you're interested in. I see who you want to be. I will help to kind of steer that or frame that or challenge you to push yourself harder. And then there are other kinds of mentors who I think try and make mini-me's. They try and remake you in their image, and I have very little tolerance for that. So I think mentorship's a big part of it, and I think also learning the difference between a mentor who's on your side versus someone who's making mini-me's. But at its core, I think it's interest plus hours. I was writing short stories when I was 7 because I remember being at early primary school, and someone saying, writing books is a job, and I just went, someone, of course, eureka! Someone has to write these stories that I'm reading. Imagine that. That's an amazing job. So then you just keep trying to do it. I wrote a book called Goblins Galore when I was about 7 or 8 and was rejected by Angus and Robertson, but it still somewhere have that letter because I was just so excited to be doing that process, to go write something, illustrated it myself, probably a mistake, and then sending it off. It's basically Gremlins mixed with Poltergeist 2, which at the age of 7 or 8 it's disturbing that
you're
I even
watching
had those
things.
Yeah.
Well, I probably would say I agree with both of you, and would just add that I think if you think of it like playing piano or playing soccer, that yes, some people have kind of natural abilities, right? So, or singing, like I'm tone deaf. Singing is a real struggle for me because I just can't hear. I have no pitch. That's rubbish. Doesn't mean I can't sing. I'm just never going to, sing in the opera. I'm never going to be a professional singer. I can sing for fun at home whenever I want. And I think same with soccer. Like if you like playing soccer, you can play soccer really well for fun, and you could maybe even play in your local team. There's a big difference maybe between playing locally and being the best player in the universe. And I think a lot of people, when they think about can you teach writing, are thinking, can you make Shakespeare? When maybe that's not the point. Maybe we don't all need to be Shakespeare. And that there are, like if you were learning piano, there are certain tricks you can learn to play the right way, or to play in a way that can let you play Beethoven and not just, I don't know, Somewhere Over the Rainbow or something simple.
There's nothing wrong with Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
I wish I could play that.
Chopsticks, maybe is the word.
I can play chopsticks. Yeah. That's about all I can do.
But, you see students and some people, we would all have had students where they come in first year and they are just amazing already, partly because, like Alex said, they've probably put in 10,000 hours already. They've probably been writing since they're like us. I did too, had books I wrote all through school, wrote my first rubbish fantasy novel at like 12. But this idea that they've put in all this time by the time they get to university, so they're building on this foundation that already exists. Other people start writing for the first time when they're 65 or 75, and I've taught those people as well. And they may have never written before, but they've still got something to say, and they don't need to be Shakespeare for it to be valuable.
We don't even really know whether Shakespeare was Shakespeare, by the by. But there's all sorts of rumours about that. But yeah, absolutely. And it's also true probably of the acting students at Flinders as well. We audition them. I haven't been on the panel for years, but they, they are auditioned, and so they bring a certain amount of talent to the party, but then it's about giving them the skills to match that talent to take them to another level. So you might have some brilliant, witty comedian, but then you start challenging them and go, well, can you do a serious play? I was asked in my third year, can you be a soldier, a tough World War II soldier who rolls his own cigarettes? The answer, by the way, is no. But I gave it a real shot. And I think that sometimes writing's a bit like that. It's you talked a few weeks ago about challenging people to write in genres they wouldn't naturally do. You were saying, was it romance novels or what it was that you were doing? And you were saying that people that wouldn't normally write in this genre are suddenly turning in assignments that are really,
amazing.
Really strong.
Yeah, really amazing.
Yeah. So partly it's about challenging. I think that's what a good teacher does, kind of goes, I can see what you can do. Now, what if I make you move it over here? Can you respond to that challenge? I think that's a big part of it.
Because at Flinders, in creative writing, we have different streams. Obviously, we have a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Creative Arts at the moment, and we're introducing a new one. But in the Bachelor of Creative Arts, we also have portfolio entry, which is like a writing audition. And when we meet every year to discuss them, that we're looking for potential. We're not looking for you to be already polished, because people, I think, have very unfair expectations of creative writing students at university. If you were doing English literature, your essay's a practice, right? No one's expecting that you should be able to publish your first year essay in a literary journal. It's just not expected. You know, that's for academics who are doing their PhDs or beyond. But when you have creative writing students, they're somehow expecting, and the students expect it of themselves too, that in first year they should be writing publishable work, which is not expected in any other degree. You're not expecting a first year med student to go and perform brain surgery. So I think the expectation...
Not officially, no.
But the expectations are very high on writers, that they just naturally have some brilliant talent and can just do it.
Writing's one of those weird things that most people know how to do. Reading and writing, it's taught to everyone, and not everybody can read or write, of course, but most people can do it, and it comes a second nature to most people, and most people never sit down to try to write a story, so have no idea how actually how hard it is. So I think writing, the practice of writing, comes burdened with all, as you say, with all these unreasonable expectations, which
and people feel it of themselves. We talked about inspiration in one of our episodes, and this idea that when people hit the first hurdle, like when the inspiration starts to dry up and it becomes a slog, they give up. They're like, oh well, I don't have it, and they don't realise that none of us feel inspired throughout a whole novel. It's impossible. It's mostly a slog.
Oh no, sometimes you just dread opening the file. I opened Stupid Dead Boy the other day and just went, oh, you bastard, you're back. You know, I just stared at it.
Now I'm managing 50 words at a time, and then I have to get up and kind of breathe. You do it. You do another 50 words. So the next question is our podcast for kids or for adults or both?
Well, Alex just swore. So.
Well, I did, but I have been stopping myself from using the F-bomb for a long time.
So swearing is the only thing, really. And there might be the odd joke that's a little bit blue, but not too blue.
No.
The swearing
we
is
don't get
the
any
only
ruder
thing.
than elbows.
But I think, you know, most my kids, I'd let my kids listen to it. They're 12 or 15.
Yeah, it's up to their parents, I guess. I mean, if you don't have a problem with your child hearing swearing, then it's totally okay if you.
And it's not
like
extreme
we're
swearing
all the time. No, that's right. We're just, much like we are now.
We're using our full vocabulary.
4 letter words and up.
And is there anything else you'd like to share about what we're up to? I guess we're really showing what creative writing practice research is at a university.
Yeah,
not necessarily
absolutely.
some of the theoretical work, but that we might get there. That might be an interesting topic to cover, is some of the theoretical work and the criticism that we write. But we're really showing what practice-led research looks like.
And I think the only thing I'd like to add is, if people become engaged with this, ask us questions. Like, I would really love it if people, you know, I don't think any question's really off limits unless it's deeply personal, and then how would they know? But I think whatever you've always wanted to ask your teacher, now's the time.
Or a writer.
Yep, I'm all for that. So you can find all our social media details on the Ozcast page. So we're called Word Docs, WORD space DOCS. And you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. And if you Google any of us and Flinders, so if you look up Flinders University, Alex Vickery Howe, Amy Matthews, or Sean Williams, you'll be able to find our email addresses, and we're happy to correspond.
And if it's a good question, a meaty question, you'll get a full half-hour answer, including swearing and anecdotes and wild, discursive,
And there may even be chocolate in your honour.
Yeah.
Not for you.
Just for us.
But in your honour.
Yes, we'll eat it in your honour and wave it at the camera just to taunt you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Bye. Happy writing.
Oh, shush.
Why don't you write when you don't need money? All your notes sound alike too much. All of them start with I love you, honey, but they end with the same old touch. Just for a change, send a nice loving letter and cut out that please remit. Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
This is Sean's clap. Pathetic clap. That was the worst clap I've ever done in my entire life.
Alex like pulls back and his eyes close and he really goes in for the clap.
I missed my hands. Slapped myself in the face. Do you know, I've never been able to do high fives until somebody told me how to do it. I always miss. And it always goes... What
do you mean someone told you how to do it? Aim for the hand. That's how you do it.
Yeah, but I always miss. I'm completely uncoordinated. You have to look at the elbow. And that...
On the elbow again.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that your excuse for looking at the elbow?
Yeah, I always end up clutching their elbow.
Focus on the weenus. Focus on the weenus.
You're clipping again with your excitement
Above
there,
the
Alex.
weenus. The weenus is low. The 5 is high.
Be the weenus.
We've lost Alex.
Oh, shit. Oh, God. Okay.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.